Hey, what is going on, everyone? What is going on? My name is Curtis Brooks. I am a men's life coach. I help men communicate from their brokenness to wholeness so that they can move forward and claim healthy relationships. Welcome to the Huddle, a safe place to share. Today, we have an absolutely awesome show for you. The Huddle is about, before we share that with you, but the Huddle is about improving relationships through communication and just overall just the gathering of great minds and so that we can share and understand each other. But as I said, we've got a great show for you today. I am super excited about doing this show because it has been a long time coming. I've been wanting to do this show for such a time, but now the time presents itself. And the show is entitled Her Pain, Okay, His Pain, No Way. So we're going to dive more into that. But before we get started, I would love to hear your comments and your ideas, views, and opinions. You can place them right in the chat area of this live stream here. And also, I've placed the link. That's two ways that you can participate. So again, the first one is going to be entering your comments, your views and opinions in the comment section. And the second will be the link that I place within the chat area. You can click on that link and you can be part of the broadcast. Last but not least, guys, I would like to introduce you to my lovely and beautiful co-host, guest co-host, Lenora.
Hi,
Absolutely. Hey, Lenora, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. Now let's get started. Let's dive right into this because this is a hot topic. This
Yes.
is something, as I said before, something I've been wanting to talk about for quite some time now, and I'm super excited because the time now presents itself. So, her pain, okay, his pain, no way. Now, I'll tell you, I'll be honest. For me, I have had my share of relationships, good, bad, and different, and like we all have, I'm sure. And for me, the overwhelming, uh, I guess, overwhelming conversation or the feeling that I've gathered from those relationships has been that when the woman was dealing with different things and going through different things or challenges, good, bad, and different, whatever, I made it comfortable for her to talk about what she wanted to share, but it was not always comfortable for me because I felt that she didn't want to really just kind of. I mean, she acknowledged it, but it wasn't as if I was making room for her, kind of laying out the the red carpet for her. Hey, what do you want to talk about? What's going on? What's bothering you? So what I mean, do you know what I'm saying? Does that even make sense? Because I mean, you're a woman, and do you agree with that at any, or am I just being a man?
So, to be honest, when I first saw the topic, I was a little offended. I was
Why
a little
so?
offended. Like, what do you mean, her pain, okay, his pain, no way? But I had to sit and think about it for a little bit, and what I came up with is I was guilty. I was guilty. I have,
Hmm,
but I think women do it without realizing it. A lot of times of prioritizing their issues or prioritizing their pain and
right,
really forgetting that, oh, wait, this man hurts too, or he has issues too, that
right.
he has weaknesses too, that he would like to discuss, that he would like to articulate. So,
Right. I've since have thought that women have really believed that they cornered the market on pain.
oh,
And I know that's harsh, but a part of me thinks that they believe that they cornered the market on pain. And
mm,
I say that because oftentimes men, uh, and I know we have our challenges communicating, and that's been obvious for quite some time, for many, many years, and not necessarily to see that it will change a whole lot, but nevertheless, so I understand that issue there, but I think that when I say that it feels like women have cornered, they believe they've cornered the market on pain, is that it's hard for men to really kind of express themselves without
Mhm.
the woman really kind of believing that, or at least not acknowledging that, hey, we're hurting. And so it's too, I think to men it can feel like that the women have cornered the market on pain. And I know there's a lot more to it, and that's a pretty, hey, what's going on, Andre just showed up there, a good friend of mine. But I know that uh, uh,
Ooh, you see
when
that?
I know that statement is not true, but it can feel that way when you have not been able to express yourself and
Mhm.
and really just come to a grips or terms of what how you're feeling, and having someone acknowledge those feelings. And I mean, again, I think it's a bold statement to say that women feel like they've cornered the market, but I think that or is it that the how is it the term go? The squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Mm, mm. Uh, Ouch. Where's my backup? Let me look in the comment section. Where are the ladies? We need to hear
Absolutely.
from you. I need some backup here because ouch. No, I was sitting here thinking as you were talking, and the first thing that really came to my mind while you were talking is when I'm dealing with men, whatever kind of relationship it is, they didn't say anything. They
Hmm,
didn't say anything. They didn't speak up, and so
interesting.
I didn't know anything was wrong. I didn't know that they were hurting. They looked to like they were handling it and dealing with it quite all right, tough, and nothing's bothering them,
Mhm.
and they got it. And so, doesn't that feed the woman's propensity, if you will, to not really worry about it or look at it because he puts on this, I got it, I got it, I got it, I'm cool, I'm cool, I'm all right. So that kind of conditions us to continue. That's oh, Miss Helen, I'm looking at the comments in the comment section. Let's just pause there. So we have Andre who said, I think American culture
I'm gonna
is
place it on the screen here, actually.
culturally engineered to dismiss men's pain.
Hmm.
Ooh, and then Miss Helen says she's here, so I got a little backup. Hi, Miss Helen. And she said she actually has to agree for the most part. She think it also has to do with how they were raised. It does. It does have a lot to do with they were
Absolutely.
raised, how they were raised. I think about my dad growing up, and this is just a little story that comes to mind when talking about this topic. Um, I had three siblings, two brothers and a sister, and my dad used to always like have these big muscles, and he would have two of us on each arm, right? And he would pull his arms up like this, and we just thought he was Hercules, right? Able
Right.
to pull all of us up on his arms. We thought he was so strong. We saw my dad as invincible. And one day my dad was sitting on the floor, and my brother used to wear these cowboy boots. We live in Texas, okay? And my brother used to wear these cowboy boots, and he accidentally stepped on my dad's finger in the cowboy boots. And my dad jerked his hand back and was like, ow, ow. And my brother stopped and looked, and he had like this look of pain on his face. And the other siblings were looking, and he said, Daddy, I thought you were strong.
Wow.
Yes. He said, Daddy, I thought you were strong. And so, what that speaks to me now is we thought our dad could just withstand pain, that being strong
Hmm.
meant he wouldn't wince in pain or that he wouldn't express himself in pain. So, I grew up
Right.
kind of thinking that everybody was going to be like that because I never really did see my dad really reacting to pain a
Hmm.
lot. He just kind of handled it. He went out the door if there was an issue, and he came back, and it
Yeah.
was handled. We didn't get to see the process of pain. And
Right.
so I just kind of self-consciously had that expectation of men.
Right. Well, it's interesting because Andre mentioned earlier. He says, and I placed a comment on screen here. I'll do that again here. He says, "I think American culture is socially engineered to dismiss men's pain," and I agree with that. But I would also say, similar to, and I'm going to play both sides of this here, because as a men's life coach, we really have to kind of understand both sides of the spectrum, if you will.
Mhm.
So that being said, I think because culturally, because America or the culture of America socially will dismiss men's pain, and I think it's because men have dismissed the pain.
Mhm. Mhm.
We have potentially dismissed the pain, and again, I'm just gonna, as a coach here, I'm going to play both sides because it's important to be able to look at the picture from different angles. And obviously, there's a lot of truth to the title of this broadcast here: "Her Pain Okay," and "His Pain No Way." And that, as Andre said, it can definitely potentially have a lot to do with socially here in America, or just the world beyond, if you will, that men's pain has been dismissed and is
Mhm.
socially, but then it's been dismissed by men because we have had to play, as Helen has said earlier, we have had to play, we've been raised a certain way.
Mhm.
And it's been told that men don't cry, or some people have been told men don't cry. And we know that's not true. Men do cry. And in some cases, some men may cry as much as women do. And it's not to take anything away from them as a man, but we don't know what people are going through.
Mhm.
We don't know what people are going through. And I think, or even the comment that I made earlier in regards to how women think that they have this ownership of this space called pain.
Mhm.
And I think there's a lot of truth to that. And again, I too, as a man, have had to go through my healing process, mother son relationship, and that kind of thing. So I get it, and so I'm not without understanding. Absolutely not. I completely get it. It's important to be able to understand where you're coming from, and that when every time, whenever you talk about certain things, that you're not talking from a place of hurt. you
Mhm.
know you're not talking, or just rewounding yourself, or trying to dump your issues on someone else. But the reality of it is that uh, there is a space, I believe, that because men have dismissed their pain, and when they do talk about their pain, they do talk about their challenges, their struggles, uh, it may be difficult for a woman to hear.
Mhm. Mhm.
Does that even make sense, Lenore? That it could be difficult for them
It
to
makes
hear?
a lot of sense. It is difficult to hear at times. And I was trying to sit and think about why. Why is
Hmm,
it difficult to hear? But
hmm.
I feel like at times it may make a woman feel like, is
Hmm.
that security there?
Interesting. Very
Because
interesting.
many times we look to a man to, like, okay, I need him to be that rock, right? And I need him to
Yeah.
be really, really stable. So that
Hmm.
when I run to him in shambles,
Yeah.
he can handle it. He can hold me up. He can build me back up. But if he's doing that, and is this thing rocky? Like, is he going
Hmm.
to be able to make it through this? This is just a perspective, right?
Right. Right.
And that it may make her feel unsecure. That are things stable? Is he going to be able to make it through this? I don't feel um like he's my rock right now. So that's kind of what came to my mind of a reason why it may be hard to hear.
That's interesting because as I hear you say that, it's very powerful, and it makes a lot of sense. It really does. But it's not necessary. It makes sense, but it's not necessarily accurate. And I say this because there's I think that a lot of, what you just spoke is really powerful, because, and I think that a lot of women could probably absolutely say, hey, you go, girl. That makes a lot of sense. That's just exactly how I feel. So I would venture to say that a lot of women may even agree with you. But I would say also, in the inaccurate part of it is that because men don't express themselves, it can we can be made to feel a certain way when we do express ourselves.
Mhm.
When we do say, well, baby, I feel this way. I'm hurting, blah, 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 or XYZ, what the case might be. And I think that it can be absolutely easy for that woman to overlook his pain.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think it can be very easy for her to overlook his pain when the telltale signs are absolutely there, you know, and he's struggling, having some challenges, but because he doesn't say anything, at what point does the woman say, honey, babe, what's going on, to kind of help provoke that conversation, if you will?
Right. Right. Um, if you drop down to see what Miss Helen just said, that's really good, and
Hmm. Okay, let me
speaks to
comment.
what you know. She said she agrees, but she also thinks that if you know the man, you know he is strong in some area.
Hmm.
And it's different for each person. So, though he may be displaying his vulnerability in one area by saying, "I'm tired," or "I'm afraid,"
Right.
or "I'm in pain," he has other areas that he is strong in. So that we shouldn't take that moment of vulnerability for him and just say, "Oh, he's a wimp,"
Right.
or he's weak, or whatever. So
I
yeah, that
see.
was really good, Miss Helen. That's very true.
Okay, but here's the other question. Does a man have to be strong all the time? I hear women talking about this all often. I don't want to say all the time, but I hear women talking about this often in regards to not having to be superwoman,
Right.
being able to wanting to be able to take off the heels, or let down the hair, so to speak, and be able to be able to be able to relax, I guess, and not have to carry such a burden, if you will. So with women, as with men, do we have to be strong all the time? And at what point can we say, hey, you know what, babe, I'm not feeling so strong today?
Mhm. Mhm.
And it not be a check mark saying, now I got questions about this dude.
Right.
And you mentioned earlier about the men being that rock, and I think for most of us as men, we want to, including myself, we want to be the provider. We want to be that rock. We want to be that confident. But I think that before we can be that confident, it takes a building up of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
oftentimes, is it possible that and I'm putting this question out there for anyone, and Miss Helen, if you like to come on and share your thoughts, be a part of this conversation, you're absolutely welcome. And I thank you in advance already for the comments and for the engagement that you've been participating in, Andre, as well. But my question is that at what point is it for men that we can be okay with letting our hair down and not having to be strong all the time, and just here's the thing. Let me scrap that there. Here's the thing. I think that women have come into okay, Andrea, I'll get to your comment in just a second. I think women come into a relationship no different from men, but with with these ideas. And so I think that the woman thinks that she's together.
Hmm.
She thinks that she's together. And then naturally, I think when the man comes in and she sees that he may not be together in the way that she is.
Hmm.
And that means that that potentially could mean that he's not together. What's this guy crying about? What's going on with him? Why is he having issues, but not looking at that? Well, I've got my issues too. They
Mhm.
just haven't shown up yet.
Hmm. Ooh.
I know there's a lot there, but
Yeah, it is. But this is something that I had to learn and still learning.
Mhm,
I know the more that I went through healing for myself personally,
mhm,
and was able to get to the point where I was being vulnerable about what I was feeling and being vulnerable about my pains and just being transparent that way. It shifted my perspective of others, specifically men, of just becoming more compassionate and starting
mm,
to see them. And I know this may sound bad, but seeing them as a human being.
hmm. That's
And
very interesting.
yeah, very
You-
interesting. And
hmm,
seeing them as a human being, because as Andre said down in the comment section, maybe not strong, but rather the woman's perception of masculinity.
hmm,
So it had to do with my expectation of what that man was supposed to look like, my expectation of how he should respond to things, and my expectation of how he shouldn't respond to things. And
hmm.
so when he would respond outside of that, I'm not used to that, and I'm like,
Interesting.
what is this? What is this?
So that's interesting because so was he the knight in shining armor? Did you see men as the knight in shining armor, or did you not?
I believe originally I saw them as the very strong
Mhm.
knight, actually, the knight in shining armor, but the knight, the one that fights, the one that protects, the one that's
Mm,
strong, the one that goes after anything, the one that is going to win, and they were never
mhm.
defeated.
Absolutely.
And that's how I kind of grew up, and that was my expectation of men. So if it looked like he was going down, I'm like, oh wait.
You want you not taking me down with you, huh?
There's no crying.
Right, right, right,
There's no
right.
being hurt and wounded. Come on. And but the interesting thing is, I really wasn't very aware that is the thought process that was going
Hmm,
on. I didn't
interesting.
realize I was putting that inhuman expectation on the man, because it was just
Right,
so natural for
right.
me to think that way.
And Helen has a question, and I'm thinking this question is for you. Did you see them as your father or likened to your father?
Good question, Miss Helen. I believe I did probably compare everybody to
Mm,
to my father. My
mm,
father was a very, very, and still is, hard working man. And he took care of the household. He didn't put pressures on my mother to take care of the household. He did it. He was that kind of man that if something happened and he didn't have a job, he would leave that morning and he wasn't coming back till he had a job. That I remember that about my dad. So um, any kind of heaviness or problem or burden that came into the household, he just handled it. I didn't see him crumble.
right.
I
Now,
didn't see him crumble. I
now,
didn't see him in pain that way.
now, now, on the flip side of that, did you see your father share his challenges with your wife, or I mean, with his wife, or with
Very
your mom, or
interesting.
the things that he may have been gone through? Did you hear those things?
No, I didn't.
Hmm, that's interesting.
I
Very
didn't.
interesting.
So I guess I grew up with this, this belief that men handle it and that they don't need an emotional release.
That's very, very interesting. That's very powerful because at the end of the day, I liken, even just this conversation, or just what you just said moments ago, is that to our body, that the more you exert yourself, getting up in the morning time, going to work or going to work out, and just day-to-day activities, the body gets tired. The body exerts so much energy to the point where it needs to be replenished,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
And just overall, how much more does uh, individually, the man or the woman, need to be replenished, need to be told that you're important to me, need to be told that I'm thinking about you, need to be given flowers, need to be just celebrated,
Mhm.
or just, hey, babe, don't worry about this. I got this, and you take a break, you relax, whatever the case might be. And I'm saying both parties, men and women both. So how often are we celebrating each other and recognizing that, hey, he's hurting too? And as women, can you give men that opportunity to hurt
Mm.
without feeling like they're, or at least saying that they're a punk, or or
Right.
you know or
Right.
they're less than. I think that this conversation just really needs to be had in so many different arenas.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna just really jump out there, because we've been on for about 30 minutes now. So I'm gonna really jump out there. I'm gonna just take this deep. And get ready, Andre, Miss Helen, and Lenore, get ready. So as I said earlier about women feeling that they or at least my perception, feeling that women feeling that they own this pain. And um, and I think there's a lot of truth to that, because what Lenora shared, I think it has to. And again, I'm not saying that it's done deliberately, but
Right.
as Miss Helen said, it's like with how a man is being raised and how a woman is being raised. And so if the woman is not accustomed to the men sharing their feelings, or at least having heard her father share his feelings about
Mhm.
different challenges in life, and because we all have them, if she's not accustomed to hearing her father share those his challenges and woes with life, it can be difficult to listen to a man who's having those woes, because or listening to your significant other, because obviously he's not your father, but
Mhm.
yet he's expressing himself. So it can be difficult listening to that. So here's my question: is that with pain, do women see that this pain that they're going through, that it's automatically not about, I mean, it's automatically a a personal thing. It's automatically something that they're saying, hey, this is mine, and it's I'm not going to let you in, because
Hmm.
here's my thing. Where's that? Are women really, and this is the question, are women really ready to be healed?
You went there.
Are women really ready to be healed? And I
Ugh.
know, and I hope that a lot of people will listen to this replay, because this is absolutely going to be powerful. But I think that's the question that a lot of women have to ask themselves. Are they ready to heal? Because if they were ready to heal, I think that we would have a lot more of these conversations.
Hmm. Great question. Heavy question.
Yeah, I want to know your take on that, Lenora.
Yeah, heavy question. I think the answer is some are and some are
Mhm.
not.
Right.
That's really the real answer.
Mm.
Because when you talk about healing, um, you have to address not just what hurt you, but you also have to address the part you played.
Mm. Well
You
said.
have
Well said.
you
Absolutely.
have to address the
Mm.
part you played. You have to address some things about yourself that you have not wanted to look at. Part of healing is looking in the mirror. A large part of healing is looking in the mirror.
Mm,
And so many are not quite ready to do that. It's a scary thing because it takes a
mm,
lot of courage to heal, to truly heal, and to deal and to heal deeply. It takes a lot of courage. And I believe that it's the healing process, going through that healing process is what allows you to do exactly what you're saying,
right.
for a man. Because when I can heal in certain areas, then I can start saying, well, what part am I playing in
Mm,
this whole situation? How am I contributing to the positive part of the situation and the negative part of the
mm,
situation, and what can change? So you're no longer looking at just the other person or even just yourself. You you begin to look at it collectively, both. How
mhm,
how is it affecting the other person? What is the other person thinking and feeling about what's going on now? I
right.
think I had talked to you before about when you're wounded,
Mhm,
especially when you're so very wounded, you don't care about nothing that's going on around you.
right,
All you can think about is this wound you have,
right.
because it hurts. You're not really worried about tending to the wounds of anyone else.
So with that being said, and that's a, I mean, excellent response, Lenora, excellent response. And so with that being said, because a wounded man or woman, in this sense, where it's that uh, when you are wounded because you don't care, uh, the propensity to continue in a really kind of volatile manner and damaging uh, and damaging all those things that you touch, if you will. Perhaps even trying to start new relationships, or even uh, being part of conversations that work contrary to healing.
Hmm. I don't think it's always so intentional.
Hmm.
Um, you just aren't thinking about it.
Right,
You're
right.
not you're not being facetious and saying, I'm going to ignore his pain. Though some people do.
Mm,
Let's acknowledge that some people are like that. But I
right.
believe for the most part, it just doesn't cross your mind.
Hmm.
You just were
Interesting.
not thinking about it, so you aren't intentionally going forward in a volatile way, like you're saying I don't care. It's just that I I
But
did
does,
I didn't think about it.
but that but that but does that also include that I'm going through pain and I really don't want to hear about how some other woman was healed, or how other woman has been healed, or she got her husband back and she can have healthy relationships? Does that even come to play?
Sometimes it does.
Hmm.
Sometimes it does, of just not being ready to heal because that you've identified with that pain
Right.
in such a way that you're not ready to let it go.
Right.
You identify with the pain way too much.
Hmm.
You're getting something from that pain, and you're
Right.
not ready to let
Hmm.
it go. That pain is validating something.
That's
Um,
that's very interesting in itself, though. I love what you said, for the fact that you're getting something from that pain. So that pain is a source of substance.
mhm.
You know,
For some, I believe it is.
it's feeding something. But
Mhm.
here, I want to put on screen what Andre had said here. He says, I don't think so. In general, the mainstream culture does not promote women being held accountable for their actions.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Andre, I'm going to have to go ahead and agree with you. I'm going to have to go
Hmm.
ahead and agree with you. Recently, I saw a situation. It was like a news video article type thing, and this man was calling the police because his wife or girlfriend, he had children with her. I don't know if it was his wife or girlfriend,
Right.
was abusing him. She was beating him, hitting him, and had pulled a knife on him and was trying to kill him. And he called 911. And when 911 came in, they immediately went and attacked the man. They could clearly see her with the knife. and everything,
Right.
but they attacked him and ended up killing him. And nothing happened to the woman. And unfortunately, that does happen often, that the woman a lot of times is not held accountable for her actions. Whereas if that was a man in that same situation and the scenario was reversed, oh, he would have paid
Mm,
dearly.
absolutely. I love what Andre says here. He says victimhood is currency in America. That
Ooh.
is absolutely very, very deep.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
is very, very deep. And
Ooh.
it's yeah, that's very deep. And I think it goes back to the question. Excuse me. And I know the question wasn't just a general question in regards to are women ready to heal? And obviously that's a personal question from one woman to another woman. But what Andre just mentioned here, he says victimhood is currency in America, and so that really poses a just really just allows us to really look at this from a complete different perspective. You know, it's
Mhm.
almost kind of like big pharma and the pharmaceutical companies. You know, are they here to actually heal people or just keep them on medication?
Mhm.
You know, much in the sense as Andre said, victimhood is currency in America. So that essentially what he's saying is that, you know, there's big money to be made in victimhood.
Absolutely. So many people are monetizing their pain
Yes.
that,
Yes.
people have built whole businesses
Absolutely.
around
Absolutely.
their story of their
Mm,
pain, and continuing to walk in it as a victim. Um, and people, unfortunately, actually like to see that.
mm,
Kind of like drama. People gravitate toward drama. They gravitate towards
absolutely.
seeing somebody hurting,
Mm,
and seeing
absolutely.
somebody in painful situations. Uh, People want to hear about that. They gravitate towards that.
Absolutely. Well, I know recently we just talked about how people and you know how people will build businesses around the pain that they've just come out of or
Yes,
the
around
pain
their
maybe that they're
wounds.
currently
Yes.
in.
Hmm.
And oftentimes, and I can't say all the time, but a lot of times you see women who are starting businesses as coaches as and obviously there's nothing wrong with starting a business as coach, but maybe that coach oftentimes those coaches are their niche coaching careers or businesses that they're starting. It could be you know, obviously in a lot of ways it's something to do with domestic violence, you know, helping a woman heal and things of that nature. And so, and I think you said something that was really powerful, Lenora, a little while ago, and that was to say that what happens when the woman is healed,
Mm.
you
Yeah,
know, does she still have a
but
business
she
in
still
this
has that
healing, or
business.
does she
Yeah.
continue as Andre mentioned here so nicely? Uh, victimhood and current is victimhood is currency in America. So does this woman who's healed, does she still begin to coach women
Mm.
who are healed or who have not been healed because she's made money on this business?
Hmm. Yeah, because healing may sometimes change business. And in some instances, you may not have a business anymore. Yeah, if you find that you heal. So very, very good, very, very good question.
Absolutely.
I think women do have the tendency. You do see it a lot, that women will build businesses around their wounds,
Hmm.
because they want to help other women not go through it again, or they want to empower women. But it's
Right.
very, very important to receive that healing for yourself, so that you're not coaching distorted views, that you
Mm.
aren't what I call bleeding on them,
Yes, yes, yes. I like that.
because your wounds are still open. So you're not even speaking from a healed place. You're speaking from still that wounded place, that hurt place, that bitter place, that angry place.
Right.
And what can happen it can be a form of revenge, if you will,
Mm.
masked as coaching, masked as a business. And this really this could be a whole topic all in its own. But I think it's very important to see here how important healing is for an individual, because it dictates how you treat others, how you view others, and how you interact with others. But it also shows how we can go into this space of such a selfishness, where all we look at, all we care about is ourselves, and we're not giving thought to
Right.
other people that are involved.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to pop some questions on the screen. Ms.
Mhm.
Helen is
She has some good
like super
comments here.
engager.
Mhm.
She says, "Some want to live through others with that same pain, but how can you be effective if you are not healed and whole?"
Right, right.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And as Lenora just said, Ms. Helen, you're essentially saying the same thing she was saying, and you're spot on. And the answer is that you absolutely cannot be effective as a coach, as a parent, and I'm saying this, I'm extending this not just to women, but just as a whole
Mhm.
people, be it man or woman. You cannot be effective in any area of your life, and even going down to taking care of your finances. And I think oftentimes we like to think that we like to compartmentalize life and put the oranges here, the apples here, and the eggs over here. But in reality, life has a way that everything touches everything,
It does.
and it spills over into all areas of our life, and it's hard not to have those experiences those situations that may have taken place at home on a personal level, and yet go to work on a professional level and not have those things that you're dealing with at home affect you professionally. So it's absolutely almost impossible. And some may disagree, but that's okay. But the reality of it is that life touches everything. Life touches everything concerning our lives, our children. And so if we're dealing with different things that are going on personally, a man's masculinity, a woman's
Mhm.
femininity, whatever the case might be, healed or not healed, it is going to play a huge role in everything that we do,
Mhm.
everything that we say. And as Lenore said so nicely, we're going to be bleeding onto others. Our pain, our hurt, our again, it's just going to, as Helen said, we're going to be absolutely ineffective as productive citizens, as human beings, if you will, trying to get to an end goal here. So, Lenore, you want to
Yes,
share your
I actually I have a question for the men.
Mhm.
So how do we encourage men to begin to express their pain
Hmm.
if they aren't showing it? Because I think you have that we're not used to seeing and hearing the tenderness of a man's heart, and he's not used to exposing the tenderness of his heart
Right.
many times. So how do we encourage him to do it? For those of us who are saying, okay, I understand he has pain too,
Mhm.
and I want to begin to acknowledge that. I want to begin to uh, let him know I want to hear, and just let him be free to be human and be vulnerable. How do we encourage them to do that when they haven't been doing it?
Absolutely. That's an absolutely excellent question, Lenore. And Andre, I would love to hear from you and your comments if you want to place your comments on that same question that Lenore just asked. But what comes to mind for me is that I know I can only obviously can speak for myself, obviously, but what comes to mind for me is that how the person that I've been in my relationships, I've been the person that that watches, that looks, and that sees different things. And so to me, it's important to observe. It's important to observe behavior, because if she is, because I may know her in a way where she's talkative and sharing different things, but I can also sense that when she's not as talkative, sense that when she's not sharing, or the fact that her disposition has changed. And so to me, that says that, okay, babe, what's wrong? Are you okay? And so my response to you, Lenora, is that in the same way that a woman would even begin to know her child when her child is hungry, or the moods, or the challenge, the different things. Oh, he's not feeling well, or she's not feeling well. How women know their children. It's the same way that you have to observe your significant other, the man.
Hmm. And what if his response is, I'm fine?
Well, again, much like with how a woman would respond, is that, again, I can only speak for myself, is that careful intention. Yeah. Oh, okay. Give me 1 second, Andre. We're gonna put. Okay, Andre's just answered. So I can only speak for myself, and that is to is that I have a tendency, because I know something is wrong, or something she might be dealing with. So I have a tendency, hey, come on, trying to create a safe environment. And I won't even say try it, because it should be a safe environment.
Hmm.
And I think that the challenge is that it's not always a safe environment for men to share. And I'm not saying that's the case all the time, because there are absolutely some beautiful women out here who have had their own challenges, but yet on top of what they're dealing with, they are absolutely able to create that safe environment. But I think that again, my opinion is that it does need to be a woman being able to observe, because oftentimes as men, for me in a relationship, I'm a giver. And so as a being a giver, I observe. And as an observer, I'm able to say, hey babe, what's wrong? What's happening? You don't seem as talkative. And
Hmm.
she might say, oh, I'm fine. And I was like, I don't really think you're fine. Well, if you want to talk, let me know. I'm
So
here.
you've mentioned this safe space, and then I see in Andre's
Let me put this up.
comment that he mentioned safe space as well.
Hmm.
So help the
Absolutely.
women understand what safe space looks like for a man.
Absolutely. That's an excellent question. For again, a safe space for men, much in the same way with women, is through providing that conversation that comforts. A comforting conversation, words provide a safe space, where he trusts you. So and I guess the question is that, does my significant other, or my husband, does he trust me?
Mhm.
Maybe that's a question a woman could ask him. Babe, do you trust me? And if he trusts you, you know, uh, 100%, and I don't know if that's even possible. I don't know, but if he trusts you, uh, he can begin to share. But it again, it's a coaching, if you will. I'll put it that way. It's like a coaching. If he has not shared before, it's going to take time to dial into the right combination, if you will.
Mhm.
Remember as a kid, those combination locks, you have to turn once full turn and hear the click and turn it back the other way. And
Yes.
so there's a combination. It's not, it could say, oh, there's a key to unlock it. But even with the key has to be, it's not just any key that can open a lock. The key has to be created in the right way, or made in the right way. It has to be the right key, and it has to be the right combination. And oftentimes I think that because how women have been raised, and as you said earlier, they may not be accustomed to hearing men talk and share their feelings. And what do you mean you're hurting? Men don't hurt, that kind of thing.
Right.
And
Right.
so, and really, that's the wrong combination. That's not going to unlock the door to help him, to allow him to share, because the more he shares, and I think Andre kind of alluded to this, the more he shares with you, the more he is going to be just just a powerhouse. And I mean that in a way that he's able to come to your rescue.
Hmm. That's good.
Because I think essentially, uh, I think essentially is that the very thing that a woman wants, you have to put out. You have
Very
to put it out.
interesting. Yeah.
You-
So that actually leads to many couples, I believe, have this issue, that battle.
Mhm.
You're saying the very thing she wants, she has to put out. So it almost puts some could look at it this way. I don't.
Mhm. Okay.
But some could look at it this way, that it puts a burden on her to do, because we gotta pull him and coach him along and
Mm.
get him to where he needs to be. And there is this group of women, this segment of women that are like, i'm I'm tired of trying to get a man together.
Hmm.
I'm tired of
Interesting.
trying
Okay.
to I'm not here to coach you, to grow you up. You need
Hmm.
to open your mouth and speak. If you have a problem, say something. What about that group of women?
That's
Because you
here
know
here's.
they exist.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, 1,000% they exist. But here's the thing in life, and I think, and just obviously my opinion, I think I think that teaching in life never ends. It just never ends. And Andre says his response.
Right, right.
Andre's response is that they will remain single, and
Yes,
and
indeed.
and I, and that there's a lot of truth to that. To be honest, there's a lot of truth to that, and because and here's the thing, and I'm going to put these comments on screen here. And so Andre says, and before I kind of dive in more into that, Andre says, with much coaching, and kind of speaking to what I mentioned earlier in regards to, helping the man, provoking him to speak, and or to be able to share, not provoking him to speak, but provoking him to be able to share what's going on in his heart and his feelings and things of that nature, because we're not. A lot of us aren't necessarily wired that way.
Mhm.
So Andre says, again, with much coaching, and and this is what Miss Helen has to say. She says, "I'm sure he will also pay attention how she talks about her friends and their issues. If she shares their stuff, then she may share his as well. That's not a safe space." Absolutely,
Mm.
absolutely,
That's an
absolutely.
interesting perspective, Miss Helen.
Well,
Very true. Very true.
absolutely. But
Yeah.
you know what? That's interesting that you're saying that, because I think that group of women that you just mentioned that
Hmm.
will be like, girl, I ain't, not today. I ain't coaching nobody. I ain't pulling on nobody. I
Yeah.
think they belong in that group right here. This right here. What hell?
Yeah. That's that group. That's them.
That's them. Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
that group. That's that group. I think it's important to point out here that when we're talking about relationships here, we're talking about that level of relationship that has matured to the point where they understand that this relationship is about being willing to invest in the other person, willing to assist in the growth of the other person, that it's not a one-sided thing. It's not a just take and a selfish thing, but this kind of relationship. Oh, thank you so much, Miss Helen, for participating. You added so much value. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Helen.
Yes, but it's that for the people that have realized that this relationship isn't all about, well, what can that person do for me, and
Hmm.
what can they give me, but knowing that relationship is um, a space for growth and assisting the other person in growth. So I think it's
Right.
important to point that out, because people that aren't ready for that type of relationship, they aren't going to be readily receive a lot of the things
Mm.
that you're saying.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think what you're saying, or and you can definitely correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what you're saying is that relationships to some people can be absolutely one dimensional,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and and I think because they are one dimensional, and I kind of want to go back to the question you posed earlier in regards to what happened or how do we address those women, or those women who are in a sense or kind of have this attitude or mentality, and as it relates to I don't want to coach any men, I don't want to do this, blah blah. Girl, if he ain't got it by now, that kind of thing,
Right.
that and as I said earlier, is that I think teaching, it just not ever end.
Mm.
And I like what Andre said, is that they will remain single, and I think there's a lot of truth to that,
There
because
is.
because the whole sacrifice in life, sacrificing, and I'm not necessarily mean giving up because you're in a dire need, but I'm speaking from a sense of that life is going to be one sacrifice after the other, after the other, after the other, and after the other. And there is going to be something that we're learning from it, something that we're going to have to give in order to get.
Hmm.
And for the women who, I believe, for the women who have developed that attitude in regards to that, girl, I'm through, I ain't pulling no man, and blah 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 blah, perhaps they have been dealing with the wrong men,
Mm.
because naturally there sounds like there's healing that needs to be done.
Absolutely. That's usually 9 times out of 10
Right.
what the issue is. That's hurt speaking.
Hmm.
Pain, anger, bitterness,
Absolutely.
all of that speaking. That makes you just
Absolutely.
kind of wipe your hands of it and just say, I'm not doing that. He needs to
Yes.
come
Yes.
ready made.
Right. Right. Right.
He needs to come
Absolutely.
ready made, and 9 times out of 10 she's not ready made. I think you made mention to
Absolutely.
that
That
earlier. I'm sorry, ladies. I had to. I'm sorry, but yeah,
mm,
9 times out of 10, she's not ready and full of pain, full of
absolutely.
anger, full of issues,
Hmm.
and such. But and that's one reason she pushes that burden on him.
Hmm.
I need you to be ready made because I'm not. She won't admit that, of
That's
course.
that's deep in itself, Lenore, because if you think about that, you know, yeah, that's very deep, because and it's very I can appreciate you being open with that and sharing that with us, because and I think a lot of times, because men don't really take relationships, or the relationships to this level of the thinking about entering a relationship, and a lot of times men have not learned from their own, their previous relationships, and so and I would even extend that to say that it's the same with women. They have not learned from um, their previous relationships, and because of that, because they have not learned from it, they have a propensity to pick the same men and the same women.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Yolanda says relationships demand work from both partners.
Both.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So very
Absolutely.
true. And I again, going back to what Lenora said, that when the woman has not been healed, and she is looking for the man to be a sounding board,
Hmm.
to a pin cushion, if you will. And again, obviously it happens both ways, but in this particular instance, we're talking about the woman not being healed, and so using the man as a pin cushion, because she wants to deflect her shortcomings onto him.
Hmm.
uh, it can be absolutely difficult to see the partnership in that.
Yes.
It
Yes.
can be very difficult to see the partnership in a relationship, because one person has dumped their, or as you said so nicely, Lenora, one person has dumped, is now bleeding on the other person,
Mhm.
and the other person, and in a lot of ways, doesn't rightfully know how to stop this bleeding. What is the issue?
Right.
I didn't sign up for this.
Right.
You know, so it's absolutely very, very interesting. So as Yolanda said, there's definitely a demand. Relationships as a whole place the demand on both parties,
Absolutely.
and so going back to what I was saying earlier about that sacrifices are just a part of life, and the very moment that we're not ready to sacrifice it, um,
Mhm.
uh, it it becomes an obstacle for us.
Right.
It
Right.
becomes, because on the other end of that sacrifice is the glorious hallelujah moment. I'm thinking,
Mhm.
or that very thing that you can obtain, that very thing that seems like it was so far away from you, it now moves closer. But it
Right.
takes a sacrifice. And then if a woman, as you mentioned earlier, those women who are saying that, hey, I am through trying to raise a grown man and blah 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 and X and Y Z, whatever the case might be. Here's the thing: sometimes that's just how women see the men. Think about this now. That's because how they see the men is not growing up, but yet they continue selecting the same type of men. And what does that say to the woman? That says that, guess what? She hasn't grown up,
Right.
because
Right.
she's picking the same men, or vice versa. So we're not here to bash women or anything like that. But again, this is a conversation where I'm definitely going to play both sides, because the reality is that uh, men are hurting,
Mhm.
women are hurting.
Right.
And as Yolanda said, is that relationships demand work on both parts.
Right.
Absolutely, they demand work on both parts. But it also demands that as the man can be sensitive to the woman's needs, absolutely, as a man can be sensitive to the woman's needs, and babe, what do you want? You're thirsty? Can I get you something to drink? And blah blah blah, XYZ. How do you feel? Hey, what's going on? And as he may be sensitive to her needs, it's also important that the woman be sensitive to his needs. And as you said earlier, Lenore, is that oftentimes women have been raised different. Like with men, been raised different, and so because they've been raised different, you may have that woman who is not used to hearing was not used to hearing her father or a man in her life, perhaps a stepfather, may not have been used to hearing that man in her life share feelings, that father, when they were younger. And so naturally, as she gets older, for her significant other, husband or boyfriend, to begin sharing his feelings with her, it can absolutely seem weird, seem strange. As you said earlier, why are you crying? What's going on with you? That kind of thing. And so I think it's we talked about providing a safe place for men, and I mentioned about coaching, as did Andre, and it does take coaching. So for that woman who believes that she's not ready to do that anymore, guess what? Someone coached her. Someone has been coaching her, or has not been coaching her.
Or not, right? I was
Yeah,
about to say,
absolutely. Or
or
not.
not, and that may be the big issue. I think really we can boil it down to it takes humility on
Hmm.
both sides. It
Right.
takes both sides being willing to take a look at themselves
Right.
and see how they're what part they play
Hmm.
and contributing to that. And it takes willingness on both sides to be open and willing to learn, to receive from the other.
Right.
Because if you have it just takes just one to not be in agreement on one of those things that I listed, and this thing is just not going to work.
Right. Right.
if you don't have the humility, if you're not willing to look at yourself in the part that you play, if you're not teachable and, and willing to learn and receive and accept from, the other person, because I'm going to just put this out there, because some men aren't willing to be coached.
Absolutely.
Because they don't want to receive from a woman. They don't want her to point anything out, and she can be doing it in an encouraging way, but what they hear is something totally different, because they do have a wound.
Right.
And so both partners have to be willing to look at themselves, look at the part they play, and for this thing to work. Put Andre's comment up.
Yeah. Andre says, what hope is there for Gen Z, a generation born almost entirely without fathers in the home, almost zero examples of marriage? Wow. Wow. That's
Andre, yeah.
Big question there, Andre. Absolutely.
I think that's why it's so important for men like you, men like Andre, and I'm sure there's other men to step in that place of leadership and mentorship, because you're going to have to mentor, to teach, to share, to pour into not only your own children, but other people's children.
Absolutely.
That's why you have things like the Big Brothers of America, because there are young men out there who just didn't get it. Absolutely. And there was nobody around. And if some man doesn't step up and say, let me try to fill this gap. Let me try to pour into these men so that we can change the generation, so we can change relationships, so we can change these marriages and change these households and change the experiences children are being raised in, then we're just going to continue having these men who didn't get that.
Right. Absolutely. That's an excellent pointer, Lenora. Excellent point. And Andre, that's an excellent question you posed for sure. Absolutely. It is absolutely important. And, and to your question, Andre, and even really a lot of what Lenora has just mentioned, that it will take men like myself and Andre and other men who are out there just feeling that unction, being provoked and say, hey, you know what? I don't care about the woman who says that she is done coaching men, who is not ready to sacrifice her own traumas in order for the healing, because essentially that's what it's about. She's not ready to give over her trauma, her hurt, her pain, and the misjointed ideas that may not be aligning. But here's the thing. It absolutely is going to take men like myself, Andre, and as I said earlier, as Lenore said, other men to really kind of step into the gap to make this happen. Because if not, we have just a generation or generations of men and women, young men, starting with, as Andre said, we've got Gen Z born almost entirely without fathers, and just poor examples of marriage. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with marriage. But the reality of it is that, as Andre said, if you've been given a poor example, that's what and that's what you're responding out of. And so it's just going to take men who are just ready to just say, you know what, I'm going to take off the work clothes. I'm tired. I'm exhausted, but I'm going to have to take off the work clothes and put the Superman outfit on, and be prepared to feel uncomfortable. Be prepared to just say some things that are just going to provoke thought, and some people aren't going to be happy with you. But the reality of it is that when the women get tired, or when the men get tired, we've got generations and generations of people who are missing out on the wisdom and the pain from the pain, the growth from the pain that each of us have gone through, who are absolutely missing out on. They're missing out on the rainbow at the end of the, at the end of the, after a nice rain. Yeah, it gets messy and it gets windy and it gets ugly, overcast, but the sun always comes out.
Right.
And I think that unfortunately, because there are those people, men and women alike, who are tired of coaching. And the truth of the matter is that they end up being right where they're at,
Mm.
thinking that there are no men or there are no women out there. And that's just not true. We just have to be ready to sacrifice the things that are hurting us and not try to hold them up like a badge of honor.
Right.
So,
Hmm.
uh, as we're wrapping it up, Lenora, you any last words you want to share?
Really, I just want to just applaud this platform and this space, the huddle, because these are very needed conversations. Because the reality of it is, maybe there's not a whole lot of Gen Z or anything watching these. I pray that they do, but maybe not. But the reality of it is, it's a lot of older men, some boomers that
Mm,
didn't get it either,
absolutely. Well
and
said.
so this is impactful for them as well to change how people that are already in those marriages and have maybe even been married for years to begin to transform those experiences as well, so that they can
Right.
pass down something different, and for people to begin to say, you know what, I'm tired of a fruitless relationship.
Mm,
I want to have a fruitful relationship. And we already know, to get that fruit, we have to sow something. We don't reap unless
absolutely.
we sow something. So if we want to begin to get this positive fruit and life-giving fruit from our relationships,
Mm,
we're going to need these kind of talks. We're going to need the tools.
right.
We're going to need to uncover uncover the truths, and shift some of these mindsets so that people can begin to experience fruitful relationships.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that, Lenora. Absolutely. Thank you. Wonderfully said. Absolutely. And I'm going to share just the last word that just kind of came up in my mind. And I think I was sharing this with you earlier, Lenora, is that, for faith, we often see faith as something, or when we hear the word faith, we can easily begin to start to try to turn the corner on life, and oh, I don't want to hear that, I don't want to hear that.
Mm.
But the reality of it is, faith is just believing. And I don't want to overly simplify it, because faith has to be something that a person takes hold of. And you don't have to be super spiritual. You don't even have to be you don't have to be spiritual at all, because believing is faith. But here's uh, uh, a reality or an understanding that faith has the potential to, when you believe something so strongly, faith has the potential to change your mindset. Faith has the potential to take you above something, a situation that you're in, to take you above something and out of something, and really just to help facilitate change, begin to change, and begin to turn some things slowly but surely. And sometimes it happens quickly. But in order for us to love, in order for us to love one another and to be able to observe each other in a respectful manner and say, "Hey, baby, what's wrong?" Or again, going both sides, both ways, and woman to the significant other, boyfriend, husband. It takes faith to rise above something, because what we've been given is love with conditions.
Mm.
What we all have been given is love with conditions. And no one likes to sign an agreement with conditions, almost stating to the fact that, okay, I'm going to sign this, but if I sign this, I won't be able to get out of it.
Mm.
So no one likes love with conditions. And according to our own households, though they may vary, different upbringings, we've been loved with conditions. We've all been loved with conditions on a much lower level. I'm talking about a much lower level. But in order to rise above that, which love has no conditions, it takes faith, but not just blind faith, but it takes faith in only one God. It takes faith in something that is bigger than you. And because our own limited faith or our conditions of love that we may have, and from one relationship to the next relationship, there's always going to be these conditions. Just they just change from person to person. And so it says that love has these conditions. And in fact, we all want to be loved without conditions. And so faith has to be the outline. Faith has to be the very thing that shadows us. Faith has to be the very thing that we rise above. But in order to get there, as I mentioned earlier, not only faith, but it takes sacrificing the hurt, the pain that life and relationships have caused us. It takes being honest with ourselves and saying, here's my stuff. But how many of us want all of that stuff when we first meet someone? So the stuff comes out in layers, if you will. Because the truth of the matter is that if I dumped all of my stuff on you, you'd probably run. Most people would probably run. But so life opens up to us all in layers. And there are some people who will obviously be deceitful about certain things. But in true relationships, life opens up in layers. And we learn about each other in layers to the point where, as the other person, as we share with each other, love becomes unconditional. So, guys, that is going to be our show for this evening. It has absolutely been a pleasure. Thank you, Andre, for all of your input, your engagement. Thank you, Yolanda. Thank you, Miss Helen, though you're not here. And thank you for those who will listen to the replay. I hope that this message, this conversation has absolutely. Thank you, Andre. Andre says, mic drop, great show. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that, brother. So for all of you who have listened in and who will listen to the replay, thank you very much. It's absolutely been my pleasure to bring this conversation to you, and we will have another conversation in about 3 to 4 weeks. So we're gonna right now we're only starting this show, doing it at least once a month for now. So as help comes along, because there's a lot of work with putting shows together. So as help comes along and um, different topics. So I can take on once a month right now, but because I've got some other things I'm working on as well. But we will see you in about I would say probably same time next month in January. And so we'll have a different topic, and we don't know what that topic is, but I will definitely post it prior to opening up or prior to coming on live here. We'll share the topic with you. So again, thank you, everyone. It has been an absolute pleasure. If you have any comments, if you listen to replay, you have any comments, please list your comments within this comment section of this post here, and I will try and get to those comments as well if you have any questions. So again, thank you for tuning in. And my beautiful and lovely guest co-host, thank you, Lenore, for being a part of
Hey,
this great
thanks for having
discussion.
me. Great discussion.
Absolutely, absolutely. You were definitely a blessing, and definitely a blessing. So, guys, we're going to say bye bye for now, and we will see you next month around the same time. Ciao for now. Bye bye.
Bye.